Three merry men and three merry men, oh, three merry men are we, and Harry sings three parts in a string all under the table tree. Three merry men and three merry men, oh, three merry men are we, and Harry sings three parts in a string all under the table tree, all under the table tree.
Good evening, and welcome to No Epilogue Productions, Shakespeare's words and Schlockspeare's, well, we don't quite know what. We are very pleased to bring you this evening to Shakespeare, and very happy to have the talents of some truly wonderful actors to bring the bard's words to life. If you go to our YouTube channel, you can hear some of these same performers in the production of The Tempest we recorded last summer. This June, we will be presenting 3 of Shakespeare's plays, hopefully with some of the same talent you hear tonight. 1 month from tonight, we will be live streaming an evening of poetry, both original poetry and poetry from the 20th and 21st century poets. We hope you'll join us for that. But for this evening, we're going to bring you 17 of Shakespeare's monologues from 15 of his plays. We have selections from his histories, his tragedies, as well as from his comedies. Now, I know the actors are preparing to get ready to present this to you, but before we start, I just have a few more bits of advice for them. Well, actually, it's Shakespeare's advice to his players. It's from his play, Hamlet. Speak the speech, I pray you, as I pronounce it to you, trippingly on the tongue. But if you mouth it, as many of your players do, I'd as lief the town crier spoke my lines. Nor do saw the air too much with your hands thus, but use all gently. For in the very torrent, tempest, and as I may say, the whirlwind of passion, you must acquire and beget a temperance that may give it smoothness. Oh, it offends me to the soul to hear a robust periwig-pated fellow tear a passion to tatters, to very rags, to split the ears of the groundlings who, for the most part, are capable of nothing but inexplicable dumb shows and noise. I would have such fellows whipped for o'erdoing Termagant. It out-Herods Herod. Pray you, avoid it. Be not too tame neither, but let your own discretion be your tutor. Suit the action to the word to the action. With this special o'erstep, not the modesty of nature. For anything so overdone from the purpose of playing, whose end, both at the first and now, was and is, to hold as 'twere the mirror up to nature, to show virtue her own feature, scorn her own image, and the very age and body of the time his form and pressure. Now, this overdone or come tardy off, though it make the unskillful laugh, cannot but make the judicious grieve, the censor which you must one in your allowance o'erweigh a whole theatre of others. Oh, there be players I have seen and heard others praise, and that highly, not to speak it profanely, that neither having the accent of Christians nor the gait of Christians, pagan nor man, have so strutted and bellowed that I have thought some of nature's journeymen had made men and made them not well. They imitated humanity so abominably. Reform it altogether. And let those that play your clowns speak no more than that is set down for them. For there be some of them that will themselves laugh to set some quantity of barren spectators to laugh too, though in the meantime, some necessary question of the play be then to be considered. That's villainous, and shows the most pitiful ambition in the fool that uses it. Go, make you ready. Now, here at No Epilogue Productions, we don't do epilogues. We don't believe in them. But we do believe in prologues, and to open our show tonight, we have one of the best prologues ever written. It is the opening of Henry V, and it is spoken by the chorus to transport the audience from the real world to the world they are about to experience through the show. Here now is Darin Dunston with the prologue to Henry V.
Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention. A kingdom for a stage, princes to act and monarchs to behold the swelling scene. Then should the warlike Harry, like himself, assume the port of Mars, and at his heels, leashed in like hounds, should famine, sword, and fire crouch for employment. But pardon, gentles all, these flat, unraised spirits that have dared on this unworthy scaffold to bring forth so great an object. Can this cockpit hold the vasty fields of France? Or may we cram within this wooden O the very casks that did affright the air at Agincourt? Oh, pardon. Since a crooked figure may attest in little place a million, then let us, ciphers to this great accompt on your imaginary forces work. Suppose within the girdle of these two walls are now confined two mighty monarchies, whose high, upreared, and abutting fronts the perilous, narrow ocean parts asunder. Piece out our imperfections with your thoughts. Into 1,000 parts divide one man and make imaginary puissance. Think, when we talk of horses, that you see them, printing their proud hooves in the receiving earth. For 'tis your thoughts that now must deck our kings, carry them here and there, jumping o'er time, turning the accomplishment of many years into an hourglass. For the which supply, admit me, chorus to this history, who, prologue-like, your humble patience pray, gently to hear, kindly to judge our play.
King Lear had 3 daughters, and bad judgment when it came to them. In this scene, we see the oldest daughter, Goneril, as she starts to plot against him. Tatyana Aravena as Goneril from King Lear.
By day and night he wrongs me. Every hour he flashes into some gross crime or other that sets us all at odds. I'll not endure it. His nights grow riotous, and himself upbraids us on every trifle. When he returns from hunting, I will not speak with him. Say I am sick. If you come slack of former services, you shall do well. The fault of it, I'll answer. Put on what weary negligence you please, you and your fellows. I'd have it come to question. If he distaste it, let him to our sister, whose mind and mine I know in that are one, not to be overruled. Idle old man, that still would manage those authorities that he hath given away. Now by my life, old fools are babes again, and must be used with checks as flatteries when they are seen abused. Remember what I have said.
How to tame a shrew. Most men are not up to the task, but in Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew, we are introduced to Petruchio, who is not only willing to try to tame the strong-minded Kate, but seems to relish the experience. Here is Ryan Molloy as Petruchio in Taming of the Shrew.
Thus have I politically begun my reign, and 'tis my hope to end successfully. My falcon now is sharp, and passing empty. Until she stoop, she must not be full gorged, for then she never looks upon her lure. Another way I have to man my haggard, to make her come, and know her keeper's call. That is to watch her, as we watch these kites that bait and beat and will not be obedient. She ate no meat today, nor none shall eat. Last night she slept not, nor tonight she shall not. As with the meat, some undeserved fault I'll find about the making of the bed. And here I'll fling the pillow, there the bolster, this way the coverlet, another way the sheets. Aye, and amid this hurly, I intend that all is done in reverent care of her. And in conclusion, she shall watch all night. And if she chance to nod, I'll rail and brawl, and with the clamor keep her still awake. This is a way to kill a wife with kindness. And thus I'll curb her mad and headstrong humor. He that knows better how to tame a shrew, now let him speak. Is charity to show?
Cleopatra, one of the most fabled beauties in history. But Shakespeare's telling of the romance between Cleopatra and Mark Antony shows that beauty and power can still bring about bad ends. Here is Kubbi as Cleopatra from Antony and Cleopatra.
Sir, I will eat no meat. I'll not drink, sir. If idle talk will once be necessary, I'll not sleep neither. This mortal house I'll ruin. Do Caesar what he can. Know, sir, that I will not wait pinioned at your master's court, nor once be chastised with the sober eye of dull Octavia. Shall they hoist me up and show me to the shouting volatry of censuring Rome? Rather a ditch in Egypt be gentle grave unto me. Rather on Nilus mud lay me stark naked and let the water flies blow me into abhorring. Rather make my country's high pyramids my gibbet and hang me up in chains.
The play Richard II shows a good man at the end of his reign, who both starts making bad and arbitrary decisions, and who has surrounded himself with the wrong people, all of which will lead to his demise. But Richard is a thoughtful man, and the beauty of this play is when he thinks aloud to the audience. Here is Michael Maher as Richard II from Richard II.
No matter where, of comfort no man speak. Let's talk of graves, of worms, of epitaphs. Make dust our paper, and with rainy eyes write sorrow on the bosom of the earth. Let's choose executors and talk of wills, and yet not so. For what can we bequeath save our deposed bodies to the ground? Our lands, our lives, and all our Bolingbroks. And nothing can we call our own but death, and that small model of a barren earth which serves as paste and cover to our bones. Oh, for God's sake, let us sit upon the ground and tell sad stories of the death of kings, how some have been deposed, some slain in war, some haunted by the ghosts they have deposed, some poisoned by their wives, some sleeping killed, all murdered. For within the hollow crown that rounds the mortal temple of a king keeps death his court. And there the antic sits, scoffing his state and grinning at his pomp, allowing him a breath, a little scene, to monarchize, be feared, and kill with looks, infusing him with self and vain conceit. as if this flesh which walls about our lives were brass impregnable. Unhumored thus comes at the last, and with a little pin bores through his castle wall, and farewell, king. Cover your heads, and mock not flesh and blood with solemn reverence. Throw away respect, tradition, form, and ceremonious duty. For you have but mistook me all this while. I live with bread like you, feel want, taste grief, need friends. Subjected thus, how can you say to me, I am a king?
As opposed to Richard II, Richard III, as Shakespeare depicts him, was not so nice. We first meet Richard in Shakespeare's canon when he is still the Duke of Gloucester in Henry VI, Part 3. His brother Edward has just won the crown. And where are Richard's thoughts? Craig Wichman as Richard from Henry VI, Part 3.
Aye, Edward will use women honorably. Would he were wasted, marrow, bones, and all, that from his loins no branch may spring to cross me from the golden time I look for. And yet, between my soul's desire and me, the lustful Edward's title buried is Clarence, Henry, and his son, young Edward, and all the unlooked-for issue of their bodies, to take their rooms ere I can place myself. A cold premeditation for my purpose. Why then I do but dream on sovereignty, like one that stands upon a promontory and spies a far-off shore where he would tread, wishing his foot were equal to his eye, and chides the sea that sunders him from thence. So I do wish the crown, being so far off, and I do chide the means that keep me from it. And so I say, I'll cut the causes off, flattering myself with impossibilities. My heart's too quick, my eye o'erweens too much, unless my hand and strength can equal them. Well, say there is no kingdom then for Richard. What other pleasure can this world afford? I'll make my heaven in a lady's lap, and deck my body in gay ornaments, and witch sweet ladies with my words and looks. Oh, miserable thought, and more unlikely than to accomplish 20 golden crowns. Why, love forswore me in my mother's womb, and for I should not deal in her soft laws, she did corrupt fail nature with some bribe, to shrink mine arm up like a withered shrub, to make an envious mountain on my back, where sits deformity to mock my body, shape my legs of an unequal size, to disproportion me in every part like a chaos, or an unlicked bear whelp that bears no impression. And am I then a man to be beloved? Oh, monstrous fault to harbor such a thought. Then, since this earth affords no joy to me but to command, to check, to o'erbear such as are of better person than myself, I'll make my heaven to dream upon the crown. And whilst I live, I'll account this world but hell, until my misshaped trunk that bears this head be round impaled with a glorious crown. And yet I know not how to get the crown, for many lives stand between me and home. And I, like one lost in a thorny wood that is rent by thorns, and rents the thorns, not knowing how to find the open air, torment myself to catch the English crown. And from that torment I will free myself or hew my way out with a bloody axe. Why, I can smile, and murder whilst I smile, and cry content to that which grieves my heart, and wet my cheeks with artificial tears, and frame my face to all occasions, deceive more slyly than Ulysses could, add colors to the chameleon, and set the murderous Machiavel to school. Can I do all this and cannot get a crown? Ha! Were it farther off, I'll pluck it down.
Beatrice, from Much Ado About Nothing, is a favorite among actresses. She has some of the wittiest lines in the canon of any character, male or female. But Much Ado is, at the heart of it, a love story. Here now, Kay Cook as Beatrice from Much Ado About Nothing.
Kill Claudio. Is he not approved in the height a villain that hath slandered, scorned, and dishonored my kinswoman? Oh, that I were a man. What, bear her in hand until they come to take hands, and then with public accusation, uncovered slander, unmitigated rancor. God, that I were a man. I would eat his heart in the marketplace. Sweet hero, she is wronged, she is slandered, she is undone. Princes and counties. Surely a princely testimony, a goodly count confect, a sweet gallant, surely. Oh, that I were a man for his sake, or that I had any friend would be a man for mine. But manhood is melted into courtesies, valor into compliment, and men are only turned into tongue, and trim ones too. He is now as valiant as Hercules, that only tells a lie and swears it. I cannot be a man with wishing. Therefore, I will be a woman with grieving.
Scholars have recently discovered a manuscript of a play from around the same time as Shakespeare, written by a distant cousin of the bards, Wilbur Shakespeare. Now, not much is known about Wilbur Shakespeare. He did write a 900-page autobiography, but nobody's actually cared enough to read it. The manuscript of his play was discovered quite by accident. Evidently, it had been crammed into a crack in a wall of an Elizabethan tavern in order to prevent a draft. The scholars, however, got very excited about their discovery until they actually read the play. But here, for the first time anywhere, is a scene from that manuscript. All's well that ends as Henry likes it, part 15.
Enter Prologue.
Sustain we now description of a time when petty lust and overweening tyranny offend the ruck of state. Thus fly we now, as oft with Phoebus did, fair Asterope, unto proud Flanders' court. Where is the warlike Warwick? Like to the mole that sat on Hector's brow, fair set for England and for war.
Exit Prologue. Enter Court.
My lord Worcestershire, what news from England?
My liege, e'en now have Albany and Essex arrived from those shores.
And so we bid you welcome to our court, fair cousin Albany, and you, our sweetest Essex. Take this my hand, and you, fair Essex, this. And with this bond we'll cry anon and shout Jack Cock of London to the foe. Approach your ears, and kindly bend your conscience to my peace. Our ruddy scouts to me this hefty news have brought. The naughty English, expecting now some pregnance in our plan, have with some haughty purpose bent Aelus unto the service of their sail. So even now, while we to the wanton lute do strut, is brutish Bolingbroke bent fair upon some fickle circumstance.
Some fickle circumstance.
Some fickle circumstance.
Get thee to Gloucester, Essex. Do thee to Wessex, Exeter, fair Albany to Somerset must eke his route, and Scroop, do you to Westmoreland, where shall bold York, enrooted now for Lancaster, with forces of our uncle Rutland, enjoin his standard with sweet Norfolk's host. Fair Sussex, get thee to Warwick's burn, and there with frowning purpose tell our plan to Bedford's tilted ear, that he shall press with most insensate speed, and join his warlike effort to bold Dorset's side. I most royally shall now to bed, to sleep off all the nonsense I've just said.
Exit court. Enter rustics.
Is it all botched up then, Master Puke?
I'd marry it is, good Master Snot.
'Tis said our master, the Duke, hath contrived some naughtiness against his son, the Queen.
Aye, and it doth confound our merrymaking.
What say you, Master Puke? I am for Lancaster, and that's to say for good shoe leather.
Come, speak, good Master Puke, or hath the leather blocked up thy tongue?
Why then go trippingly upon thy laces, good Grit.
Art leather laces thy undoing?
They shall undo many a fair boot this day.
Ha ha! Good booger, why looketh thou glum? You seem to be wondering, the difference between a hawk and a handsaw.
Oh, boy, neither hawk nor handsaw will win this die.
I marry, the hawk won't fly, nor the handsaw cut.
Hawk and handsaw. And that'd be a good name for a band of traveling players.
Yeah.
Oh, come, let's to our rural revel, and with our song enchant our queen.
Exit rustics. Enter English.
Merry, 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 and hawk, hawk, hawk. Methinks I hear a lock, 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 and it means death.
Wise words in the mouths of fools do oft themselves belie. Good fool, shall Essex prosper?
Aye, prosper.
Say you prosper, fool?
Aye, prosper.
Mean you prosper?
Aye, prosper!
Well, marry then, methinks will prosper. And saying prosper, do we say to cut the knot which crafty nature hath within our bowels lock up? But soft, who comes here?
Oh, my good Lord, unstop your ear and yet prepare to yield the optic tear of my experience. Such news I bring as only can crack open the casket of thy soul. Not 6 miles hence there grows an oak whose nutty thews engendered in the bosky wood doth raise itself most impudent towards the solstice sun. So saying did there die, and dying so did say.
God, this was most gravely undertaken, and undertaken has ethics gravely answered it. Why, then we'll muster, and to the field of battle go, and unto them our English sinews show. Therefore, brothers, unto our several tasks, and ere yon Phoebus thrice 5 times is passed over this wrinkled orb we call the earth, the queen shall know the metal of our minds.
Aye, and perchance the metal of our swords.
Why, that's my brother Blissworth. I know the sharpness of thy wit, and relish thee with more withal.
The queen will not relish us, my lord. She will find us too hot for her relish. Too hot, say I. Nay, then, we shall pepper her.
Enough, coz. Be not a spendthrift with thy jest, lest happily some may return to thee. Hie thee to St. Albans, carry out our defiance to the queen.
I will with utmost speed, my lord.
Exit English. Enter Queen and Worcestershire with swords.
Stay, treacherous Worcestershire.
Stay, rebellious Blissworth.
Stay, sayest thou? Then stay upon thy stay, or I'll unstay thee.
Why then was this encounter nobly entertained, and so by steel shall our contest be buckled up. Come, sirrah, let's to it.
Let's to it. Good steel, thou shalt thyself in himself embowel.
Come, sir.
They fight!
A hit! A hit!
No, sir, not a hit. A miss. Come, sir, art foppish in the mouth.
They fight again!
Oh, God! Fair cousin, thou hast done me wrong. Now is steel twixt gut and bladder interposed.
Oh!
Oh, indeed!
Saucy Worcestershire, dost thou lie so still?
Enter Prologue.
Now hath mortality her tithe collected, and sovereign Albany to the worms his corpse committed. Yet weep we not, the fustian life is short. Let's on to Pontefract to sanctify our court.
By the time Richard III was written into his own play by the bard, the character had become much more sure of himself and his plans. In fact, he shares his plan with the audience at the very top of Richard III, and then the audience just sits back and watches the horrible plan unfold. Here, from Richard III, as Richard, is Mr. Bob Rutan.
Now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by the sun of York, and all the clouds that lowered upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried. Now our brows bound with victorious wreaths, our bruised arms hung up for monuments, our stern alarms changed to merry meetings, our dreadful marches to delightful measures. Grim vistage war has smoothed his front, and now, instead of mounting Bob steeds to fright the souls of fearful adversaries, he capers nimbly in a lady's chamber to the lascivious pleasings of a lute. But I, that am not shaped for sportive tricks, nor made to court an amorous looking-glass, I that am rudely stamped, and want love's majesty to strut before a wanton ambling nymph, I that am curtailed of this fair proportion, cheated of feature by dissembling nature, deformed, unfinished, sent before my time into this breathing world scarce half made up, and so lamely and unfashionable that dogs bark at me as I halt by them. Why I, in this weak piping time of peace, have no delight to pass away the time, unless to see my shadow in the sun and descant upon my own deformity. And therefore, since I cannot prove a lover to entertain these fair, well-spoken days, I am determined to prove a villain and hate the idle pleasures of these days. Plots I have laid, inductions dangerous, by drunken prophecies, libels, and dreams, to set my brother Clarence and the king in deadly hate, the one against the other. And if King Edward be as true and just as I am subtle, false, and treacherous, this day should Clarence closely be mewed up about a prophecy that says that G of Edward's heirs, the murderers, shall be. Dive thoughts down to my soul. Here Clarence comes.
Continuing with the story of dear Richard III, we see him achieve his ends and then quickly lose everything. Here, again from Richard III, is Darin Dunston as Richard.
Give me another horse. Bind up my wounds. Have mercy. Jesus! Soft. I did but dream. Oh, coward conscience, how dost thou afflict me? The lights burn blue. It is now dead midnight. Cold, fearful drops stand on my trembling flesh. What do I fear? Myself? There's none else by. Richard loves Richard. That is, I am I. Is there a murderer here? No? Yes? I am. Then fly. What, from myself? Great reason why. Lest I revenge. What, myself upon myself? Alack, I love myself. Wherefore, for any good that I myself have done unto myself? Oh no, alas, I rather hate myself for hateful deeds committed by myself. I am a villain, yet I lie. I am not. Fool of thyself, speak well. Fool, do not flatter. My conscience hath 1,000 several tongues, and every tongue brings in a several tale, and every tale condemns me for a villain. Perjury, perjury in the highest degree, murder, stem murder in the direst degree, all several sins, all used in each degree, throng to the bar, crying, guilty, guilty. I shall despair. There is no creature that loves me. And if I die, no soul shall pity me. Nay, wherefore should they, since that I myself find in myself no pity to myself? Methought the souls of all that I had murdered came to my tent, and every one did threat tomorrow's vengeance on the head of Richard.
Cymbeline is one of Shakespeare's later works. There has been much debate as to if it can be classified as a comedy. Early scholars actually classified it as a tragedy, but Cymbeline can very definitely be classified as a romance. It tells the story of Imogen, daughter of the Roman king of Britain, and what she must go through to be with her true love, Posthumus. We now present Wendy Watt as Imogen from Cymbeline.
Thou shouldst have made him as little as a crow, or less, ere left after I him. I would have broke mine eye strings, cracked them but to look upon him, till the diminution of space had pointed him sharp as my needle, nay, followed him, till he had melted from the smallness of a gnat to air, and then have turned mine eye and wept. But good Pisanio, when shall we hear from him? I did not take my leave of him, and had most pretty things to say, ere I could tell him how I would think on him at certain hours, such thoughts and such. Or I could make him swear the sheaves of Italy should not betray mine interest and his honor, or have charged him at the 6th hour of morn, at noon, at midnight, to encounter me with orisons, for then I am in heaven for him. Or ere I could give him that parting kiss, which I had set betwixt two charming words, comes in my father, and like the tyrannous breathing of the north, shakes all of our buds from growing.
Beware the Ides of March. In Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, he tells the tale of the death of the most famous Roman emperor and what followed afterwards. And while Brutus has often been called one of the biggest traitors in history, Shakespeare explores much deeper than that, digging into the man's thoughts and soul. Here now, Franconeri as Brutus in Julius Caesar.
It must be by his death. And for my part, I know no personal cause to spurn at him, but for the general. He would be crowned. How that might change his nature, there's the question. It is the bright day that brings forth the adder, and that craves wary walking. Crown him that, and then I grant we put a sting in him that at his will he may do danger with. The abuse of greatness is when it disjoins remorse from power. And to speak truth of Caesar, I have not known when his affections have swayed more than his reason. But 'tis a common proof that lowliness is young ambition's ladder, whereto the climber upward turns his face. When he once attains the upmost round, he then onto the ladder turns his back, looks in the clouds, scorning the base degrees by which he did ascend. So Caesar may, then lest he may, prevent. And since the quarrel will bear no color for the thing he is, fashion it thus, that what he is augmented would run to these and these extremities. And therefore, think him as a serpent's egg, which hatched would as his kind grow mischievous, and kill him in the shell.
All's Well That Ends Well tells the story of the emotionally immature Bertram and of Helena, the woman who loves him and wants to be married to him. Helena is very much the Shakespeare female protagonist, willing to go through anything to get her man. Here, she professes to Bertram's mother, the Countess, Tatyana Aravena, as Helena in All's Well That Ends Well.
And I confess, here on my knee before high heaven and you, that before you and next unto high heaven, I love your son. My friends were poor but honest, so's my love. Be not offended, for it hurts not him that he is loved of me. I follow him not by any token of presumptuous suit, nor would I have him till I do deserve him, yet never know how that desert should be. I know I love in vain, strive against hope, yet in this captious and untenable sieve, I still pour in the waters of my love, and lack not to lose still. Thus Indian-like, religious in mine error, I adore the sun that looks upon his worshipper but knows of him no more. My dearest madam, let not your hate encounter with my love for loving where you do. But if yourself, whose aged honor cites a virtuous youth, did ever in so true a flame of liking, wish chastely and love dearly, that your Diane was both herself and love, then give pity to her whose state is such that she cannot choose. but lend and give where she is sure to lose. That seeks not to find that her search implies, but riddle-like lives sweetly where she dies.
In As You Like It, Shakespeare created some of the most upbeat characters in his canon. Duke Senior has been exiled by his brother to the forest of Arden. How does he take it? Timothy Cox as Duke Senior in As You Like It.
Now, my co-mates and brothers in exile, hath not old custom made this life more sweet than that of painted pomp? Are not these woods more free from peril than the envious court? Here feel we but the penalty of Adam, the season's difference, and the icy fang and the churlish chiding of the winter's winds, which, when it bites and blows upon my body, even till I shrink with cold, I smile and say, this is no flattery. These are counselors that feelingly persuade me what I am. Sweet are the uses of adversity, which, like the toad, ugly and venomous, wears yet a precious jewel in his head. And this our life, exempt from public haunt, finds tongues in trees, books in the running brooks, sermons in stones, and good in everything. I would not change it.
In Comedy of Errors, two sets of twins who do not know they are twins create, well, a comedy of errors. Not only are the twins confused in the play, but everyone who knows them is as well. As we see here when one of the twins' wife seeks royal help when she believes her husband may have gone insane. Here is Kubbi as Adriana from Comedy of Errors.
May it please your grace, Antipholus, my husband, whom I made lord of me and all I had, at your important letters, this ill day a most outrageous fit of madness took him, that desperately he hurried through the street, with him, his bondmen, all as mad as he, doing displeasure to the citizens by rushing in their houses, bearing fence, rings, jewels, anything his rage did like. Once did I get him bound and sent him home, whilst to take order for the wrongs I went, that here and there his fury had committed. Anon, I want not by what strong escape he broke from those that had guard of him, and with his mad attendant and himself, each one with ireful passion, with drawn swords, met us again and madly bent on us, chased us away, till, raising of more aid, we came again to bind them. Then they fled into this abbey, whither we pursued them, and here the abbess shuts the gates on us, and will not suffer us to fetch him out, nor send them forth that we may bear him hence. Therefore, most gracious Duke, with thy command, let him be brought forth and borne hence for help.
In Measure for Measure, we meet a very complex character of Angelo, a deputy who rules in the Duke's absence. Angelo is smitten with the beautiful Isabella and tries to use his position to have his way with her. But is he just a lech? Here is Steve Viola as Angelo from Measure for Measure.
Oh, what's this? What's this? Is this her fault or mine? The tempter or the tempted? Who sins most? Ha! Not she. It is I, that lying by the violet in the sun do as the carrion does, not as the flower, corrupt, covetous season. Can it be that modesty may more betray our sense than woman's lightness? Having waste ground enough, shall we desire to raise the sanctuary and pitch our evils there? Oh, fie, fie, fie! What dost thou? Oh, what art thou, Angelo? Dost thou desire her foully for those things that make her good? Oh, let her brother live. Thieves for their robbery have authority when judges steal themselves. What? Do I love her? That I desire to hear her speak again and feast upon her eyes? What is it I dream on? Oh, cunning enemy, that to catch a saint with saints the bait thy hook. Most dangerous is that temptation that does goad us on to sin in loving virtue. Never could the strumpet, all her double vigor aught in nature once stir my temper, yet this virtuous maid subdues me quite. Ever till now, when men were fond, I smiled and wondered how.
Shakespeare always reminded his audience of the connection between real life and the stage. One of his most famous examples of this was Jacques' now well-known monologue from As You Like It. Here again is Kay Koch with the legendary piece now known as The 7 Ages of Man.
All the world's a stage, and all the men and women, merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his act being 7 ages. At first, the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, and then the whining schoolboy, with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace with a woeful ballad made to his mistress' eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly, with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again toward childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all, that ends this strange, eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything.
At the top of the evening, I said that there were no epilogues that are done by No Epilogue Productions. I lied. That isn't actually true. If you watch and listen to the shows that we posted on our YouTube channel, you will see that every single one of them has an epilogue. That's the way most drama is written. And to finish our evening tonight, we bring back Wendy Watt with our absolute favorite epilogue. Wendy Watt with Rosalind's epilogue from As You Like It.
It is not the fashion to see the lady the epilogue, but it is no more unhandsome than to see the lord the prologue. If it be true that good wine needs no bush, 'tis true that a good play needs no epilogue. Yet, to good wine they do use good bushes, and good plays prove the better with the help of a good epilogue. What a case am I in, then, that I'm neither a good epilogue nor cannot insinuate with you on the behalf of a good play. I am not furnished like a beggar, therefore to beg will not become me. My way is to conjure you, and I'll begin with the women. I charge you, O women, for the love you bear to men, to like as much of this play as please you. And I charge you, O men, for the love you bear to women, as I perceive by your simpering, none of you hates them, that between you and the women the play may please. If I were woman, I would kiss as many of you as had beards that pleased me, complexions that liked me, and breaths that I defied not, and as many as have good beards or good faces or sweet breaths will. For my kind offer, when I make curtsy, bid me farewell.
The bee sucks this a guy, in a cowslip's bell I lie. There I couch when owls do cry, on the bed's back I do fly after.
So that is our evening, and this is our cast.